I want to very warmly welcome Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, an illustrious son of a very illustrious father and a renowned advocate, now a very active parliamentarian, ladies and gentlemen, but most of all, and I feel very privileged to be able to say this over the years, someone who has become our personal friend. So I'd like to hand it over now to Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani.
Thank you, Arnav. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with immense pride that I welcome all of you to this, the third edition of the Ram Jethmalani Memorial Lecture Series. It is a measure of the success and popularity of the lecture series that apart from NewsX, who have supported and encouraged this series from its inception, Republic TV, with its wide viewership, has this year chosen to broadcast the event live. We look forward to their continued participation in future. I thank Mr. Arnab Goswami and Mr. Kartikeya Sharma for their most vital support. This year, we are honored to have as our chief guest the newly elected Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankarji, who I may add, rescheduled another program so that he could grace this event as chief guest. It is also pertinent to point out that he has been a distinguished member of the bar himself. I also welcome the Solicitor General, Shri Tushar Mehta, who, given his very close association with Shri Ram Jethmalani, will, I hope, be a perennial guest at this event. I welcome and thank profusely every one of our 6 very eminent guest speakers on the topic of today's discussion. All of them are distinguished servants of the nation, erudite, and uniquely qualified to speak on today's subject. They are outstanding speakers and undoubtedly passionate about their viewpoints. I have no doubt that their individual views, whether widely disparate or only nuanced in some differences, will be illuminating and thought-provoking. In keeping with the aims, ladies and gentlemen, of the lecture series, i.e., to have an informed discussion with diverse views on a burning topic of the day, this year's topic is, has the need for a uniform civil code become an imperative today? A brief background. With the nation reeling from the horrors of partition of 1947 and the Hindu-Muslim riots that ensued in its wake, the framers of our Constitution did not immediately opt for a uniform civil code, but left it to future generations in less turbulent times to frame such a code. Article 44 of our Constitution prescribed that the state shall endeavor to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. 38 years later, with no uniform civil code in sight, the Supreme Court in 1985, in the famous Shah Banu case, and in the words of the then Chief Justice, Y.V. Chandrachud, pronounced, Article 44 of our Constitution has remained a dead letter. There is no evidence of any official activity for framing a common civil code for the country. A common civil code will help the cause of national integration by removing disparate loyalties to laws which have conflicting ideologies. It is the state which is charged with the duty of securing a uniform civil code for the citizens of the country, and unquestionably, it has the legislative competence to do so. A beginning, it said, has to be made for if the Constitution is to have any meaning. Justice Chandrachud's words failed to evoke any response from successive governments since 1985. The biggest sufferer has been the cause of gender justice. It was left to Muslim women themselves to assert their rights. Shaira Banu challenged triple talaq in the Supreme Court successfully, But while divorce by triple talaq was invalidated, the ground reality was that Muslim women were left helpless in the matter of enforcement of their rights, which the Supreme Court recognized. Husbands did not maintain them or their children and contracted further marriages. The government ultimately had to step in to enforce the judgment of the Supreme Court and enacted the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Act 2019. That legislation has had mixed success. Today, the hearing on hijab is underway before a constitution bench of the Supreme Court. Challenges again by Muslim women in the Supreme Court to the practice of nikah halal, polygamy, and certain provisions of the Muslim personal law are pending and slated for an October hearing this year. Could the struggles, ladies and gentlemen, of Muslim women and the time-consuming efforts of constitutional benches of the Supreme Court been avoided had a uniform civil code been in place as envisaged by the founding fathers of our Constitution and red flagged by Justice Chandrachud in 1985? How many more court battles do we have to witness on matters of personal law? Has the time finally arrived then, ladies and gentlemen, when it is imperative for the state to enact a uniform civil code as envisaged by Article 44? Today's speakers have been invited to share their invaluable insights on this issue of vital public importance. I wholeheartedly and warmly welcome them. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Jethmalani for your stirring words and for appropriately putting this whole ongoing debate we shall have in a fitting context. And if I may just respond by saying the following, that sometimes it appears to all of us, and I'm sure to Rhythm as well, that the impact on society of legislation is forgotten by the politicians themselves. And that is where perhaps the courts need to step in, and perhaps politicians need to rise to the occasion. You quoted Justice Chandrachud when he spoke about the missing aspect of official activity. Mr. Jethmalani, we are all doing this in the hope that there is this sense of frozen inertia about the Uniform Civil Code, which will end very soon. And that is, I would say, the backdrop of this entire series. So thank you very much, Mr. Jethmalani, for that.